Okay, good morning. This is day 111 of making videos to describe a day or thought in life of me, diagnosed schizoid affective disorder, someone who experiences schizophrenia. And I believe I experienced schizophrenia, but I don't believe I'm diseased or uh, crazy. And I believe is a reality to be experienced. In day 17 of these videos, I give a reason why I choose to call myself schizophrenic rather than targeted individual. In day 45, I give out a 3-minute intro into the day's topics that gives a reason why I make these videos in the first place. I've written a book on medium.com that I submit the chapters to. It needs to be edited and published. I hope to publish it to put it in print form sometime, but I hope to keep it free on there going forward. And it is entitled Unveiling the Schizophrenic Tradition, and I submit that usually to the topic sections of these posts or these videos. All right, I was going to start off today. A lot of times I talk about like synchronicity in the public or from the government or feedback that I get in gang stalking and things like that, or stuff like that. But today I'm going to read a few things, and this is just to give you an idea of just because I want to talk about something here about Doordash, and I say it. I think a political group follows me everywhere and threatens to give me a heart attack. They read my mind and monitor me in my house and start fires and earthquakes if I go out of routine, or they dislike me for whatever reason. I get voices for months at a time. If this gets me diagnosed with schizophrenia in the future, if they have to re-diagnose me, and makes me disabled, which is the current situation, I can earn $1,600 a month and keep disability health care. Healthcare, something called SGA is my limit on that. So there's something called this SGA. It's like it's a social security term. So I'm thinking I want to do Doordash because it has flexibility. So I was thinking I would like to do Doordash, and you have to, when you start earning income as a disabled person, you have to uh I mean, this whatever is going on with me with like the political group doing what I just described to you and more, to me, like, it does disable me, as I explained in one of those videos, the previous videos. I think it was 17. And if the program were to stop, I would still have a schizophrenic ideation, which is why I call myself schizophrenic a little bit, because I would still be looking at the world the same way because they imprinted this way of looking at the world on me and on my brain. So uh, that doesn't mean I'm not sane and think sane thoughts because I'm describing a reality, but the reality messes with your thought processes for sure. Uh, anyways, uh, I would like to work at DoorDash, I think, because I could have a flexible schedule. It's not ideal, like it's not like my ideal what I would like to do, but it actually is sort of an idealistic way to go forward in this economy as me, given my situation. And so I don't. I look at that and be like, can I function in that role? Will I do a good job? Will I get the food to people? And will I be able to find the businesses? And will I be able to find the houses? Or even if you're taking food to another business or something? And I think, like, hopefully I can manage and stuff. And then you got to get the good ratings. And I think you have to accept the job or something. As I understand it, you log into this thing and then you accept the job and you go do it, and you log out whenever you don't want to do it. So it's a very nice way to control your schedule according to how you feel as a the schizophrenia and stuff. So that's potentially good, and it could afford me an ability to travel with my parents as they are in retirement. And so we want to go to Ireland and spend time there. And we're if my mom starts some sort of business in Ireland or something, if she ever did something like that, maybe conceivably I could go work there part time or something, or I don't know. Just in any event, like I can travel with my family, and so it affords me time off when I probably wouldn't get time off otherwise as a minimum wage worker, being that I was out of work for 10 years or so, 12 years now, or 15, I guess. I worked at Magic Mountain for a little bit, and so yeah, so I'm thinking Doordash when I come back from Spain, and this provides flexibility here in California, and I do know that Doordash is a little bit of a hindrance on businesses because of what they charge or whatever, but I mean, it's it's the economy. You have to fit in somewhere, and I'm just finding out where I fit in. So yeah, I think right now it's a toss up between Whole Foods, Walgreens, and DoorDash, which is like my top picks at this point going forward. DoorDash could be a little entryway back into the workforce, and then I could put it on my resume if I decide to do something else in the future. So that's what I'm considering doing. All right. I was going to get into something here called seriousdisclosure.com. It's the website that Dr. or Stephen Greer puts out on his book Unacknowledged. And he talks about in the book how fossil fuels, we need to get rid of fossil fuels and go to clean energy, and or we go extinct. And he thinks that's a major reason why they're keeping the UFOs secret. And there's a whole energy source, and there's a whole technology that they're keeping hidden from the public. And if he's correct, I haven't. Supposedly he's interviewed. He's in the opening section of the book here. He talks about he interviewed 800 whistleblowers inside the defense industry and the contracting industry, military and aerospace industry, and intelligence services that he claims he's writing the book. He says the book is only 1% of the 800 whistleblowers' testimonies that he has, and serious. What's it called? SeriousDisclosure.com, capital S, capital D on the disclosure. SeriousDisclosure.com has the rest of the testimony, I think, as far as I know. I haven't really seen it. And yeah, he also says that there's a government within a government in the UFO, and a lot of people know about this, but if you don't know, then I'm going to be reading this book and saying what he says in the book. And so, yeah, there's a government within a government that runs the thing. And as I said before, it was like Majestic 12 and all that. So, all right. I'll be reading that book. That's what I found out today. Okay, so When the Earth Was Green book, it discusses how diversity creates more diversity, and life is about variances. And so it discusses how the past informs the present, and the present can give insight into the past. And I'm gonna use this a little to segue a little bit here in a second, but uh, diversity creates more diversity. So the idea that if life stopped today, we wouldn't result in, if life was whittled down to a bacteria today and evolved out of that still on Earth or whatever, we wouldn't end up with like woolly mammoths again. It's gonna go in all these different directions because there's all these potential variances to life, and that's the name of the game. It's like that's what life creates or whatever. So uh variances is the way of life or whatever. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and we can use that to our no, to temper us as we go towards a more diverse population in our social fabric, or the idea that, that's just the way life works or whatever. So you can try to control it all you want, but you have to let life be and let it bear, give out variety or whatever. And so, all right. So I was going to talk for something here about the past and forming the present, and the present can give insight into the past. And I was reminded of this when the Auschwitz, or when people were talking about the slave plantation that got caught on fire a few weeks ago, or about a week ago or something, in, I think, Louisiana. It was the biggest plantation in Louisiana, and longest sort of surviving plantation in Louisiana, and it had been repurposed, and it had become a wedding venue, and people were chastising people for going to the wedding venue, and people were crying about it going up in flames, and some people were cheering, and there was a lot of people cheering and whatever. And so, all that aside, someone asked the question, why is it okay for somebody, like, why is it okay in our world for somebody to have a wedding at a slave plantation, and it's not okay for somebody to have a wedding at, say, Auschwitz? Like, why are the two events looked at differently? The Holocaust of the African slaves in the slave trade compared to the survivors of, or compared to the Holocaust in the German, in in the German Holocaust of the Jewish population and stuff in Europe. And I'm not an authority on this, obviously, so I don't want to come across like, oh, I'm telling you why or whatever. But I had this thought, and it has to do with, uh, I had this thought, like, and then sort of this kind of gets into the past informs the present, and the present can give insight into the past. And as far as the present giving insight into the past, it seems to me that the Nazis lost lost the propaganda war for a few generations, and they've now begun to reclaim the mantle here in the 21st century, starting with the Iraq War, which I discussed in my book. That I think that war is created for the purposes of propaganda, and I theorize that potentially one of the reasons for the Iraq War was to create propaganda that was benevolent towards Germany in World War II, and I think that there is a foothold that the Nazis started to gain a foothold, and it starts with the Iraq War in the early 2000s, and now Elon Musk is at the podium giving Nazi salutes and all that. So, compared to the South, I feel like the South had that, like, the Nazis lost the propaganda war for generations. So there's generations of people in America that have been conditioned to say, like, the Jewish Holocaust is absolutely horrible. The Nazis are the most evil thing. And so now you have a situation where in the South, they have more of a, I think, more of a foothold in the propaganda systems in the United States, and they were incorporated into the United States structure or whatever. So now there's some propaganda that says, and everything's propaganda. So there's history, there's propaganda, and you know, and the propaganda isn't always wrong, but a lot of times it can be manipulated and stuff. And so, uh, I was gonna say is that the South has more hooks into the propaganda system in the United States. So I was thinking that maybe the slave plantation is not seen the same because of that reason, because the South has more hooks and the Nazis didn't have hooks. in the propaganda system in the United States. They lost the propaganda war for generations, and now, so yeah, that's one reason I thought of about why there's this discrepancy between uh, the weight of say play plantation to Auschwitz. All right, so I gotta stop here because it's been 15 minutes. Thank you for listening to me. Have a good weekend, everybody.